Are you the best footballer in the world right now?
I think so, yes. In my mind, I'm always the best. I don't care what the people are thinking, what they say. In my mind, not just this year, but always, I'm always the best. I'm always going to say that.
Welcome to Level Up Talks. No matter how far away your goal is, disappointment and frustration are binding you, there is always hope. There is always the one who cares, the one you love. There is always a way to level up.
So we're going to talk about how we're going to start a podcast.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad Way,
Hi, I'm Shannon McCaffrey.
and you're listening to Level Up Talks.
Level Up Talks.
We're ridiculous. Yeah, I
Well,
don't
you
know
have
if
to
it's
have
getting.
fun.
I
Come
don't know
on.
if it's getting easier. So episode 2.
Episode 2.
Episode 2.
I'm ready to roll.
I know. Episode 2,
Yeah.
kind of episode 4, kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, rattling these things
Mhm.
off like.
I think it's more crazy because we never know where we're headed.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
That's always the terrifying part about it.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know where this is going to go today.
Yeah. Well, we've done, I think, okay so far.
Yeah.
So what do we want to talk about today?
I think we were mentioning a couple topics: legacy,
Mm-hmm.
self-talk.
Mm-hmm. Your why.
Yeah, finding your why. Where do you want to start?
A legacy kind of speaks to me.
Yeah.
When did you start thinking about legacy?
I would say when I got onto the whole personal development train, I started really listening to a variety of different speakers talk on legacy and leaving a legacy and what that meant. And I found it really fascinating. I can't remember which book, I really wish I did. I think it was Tony Robbins' book. He talked about impact and what kind of impact people make on the world. And I think, to Tony Robbins' point, I think when somebody dies, so somebody like Oprah or I don't know, some really big names, even Tony Robbins, there's going to be certain people that die in this world that lots of people are going to mourn over.
Princess Diane had
Yeah,
an
Princess
impact
Diane,
on a lot of people.
yeah, absolutely. That's
It had
really,
an impact on me, and I
Yeah.
would have been
Mhm.
little,
Young,
10.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so those people who have really strongly impacted the world are going to be really mourned by millions of people, and that's kind of the scale of their impact. For a lot of us, the impact is very small. It's, for some people, there's only them. They don't have any family or friends left or anything that they've left to impact. So that really resonated with me when I started thinking about that, like what kind of impact, what kind of legacy am I going to leave when I die someday? And it kind of jazzed me up to like, hey, I need to do something to create an impact.
Right.
Not so that I have millions of people mourning me,
Right.
but so that I can say, hey, my life meant
So
something.
it's not a Gary Vee thing
No.
where he wants to have the most people at his funeral, which I think is incredible because he believes it,
Yeah.
and that's what he wants.
Mhm.
And he's not afraid to share that, which
Yeah.
I think is even more incredible. To be
Well,
honest.
I think that's, the impact that you have is really the equivalent of how many people you've served.
Sure. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
How many people did you serve that you spoke to, that they felt your words, that they felt you were, changing lives? And that's, that's the level of impact that I want
There's
to
been
have.
kind of two paths for legacy for me. Like I think about the very micro, like family, my kids
Mhm.
angle, like how I want them to remember me.
Okay, great, yeah.
And then there's the more the macro sense of like the amount of people I can impact. I've always been. I think that's what I've been struggling with over the last couple of years is trying to get to that point where I feel authentically like I'm impacting people in a way that I want to impact them.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think we all impact people on a daily basis, and I was just talking to my daughter about this the other day. We were in line at a checkout, so she was rewarded with a few candies, and the customer service person said, "Hi, how are you?" And I said, "Make sure you say hi back because you can impact someone, and make sure you smile." And that's what I was saying when I was leaving. When I worked at McDonald's, it was always make sure you talk to people with a smile, even if it was through the headset.
Yes.
Right, 'cause
Yeah,
that
'cause
makes
they
a
can
difference.
feel
You
it.
can
They
feel
can
it.
feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because whenever I go out with Deegan, I always have him grab the receipt from whoever's serving him, and I always whisper in his ear, you know, say thank you Susan or thank you Marie.
Yeah, using someone's name.
Yeah,
is really
because we always
important,
check the name tag, and you can actually see a visible reaction from them when they're like, wow, you took the time to know my name,
Yeah.
and how that can just, you know, the ripple effect of that and how they can change their mood, that's the small level of impact.
Kindness is by far the number one thing that drives me.
Mhm.
It's certainly from raising my children. That's all I want them to do.
Yeah.
It's just to be kind.
Kind.
And school at the window, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I
just to be
totally
a nice
agree.
person,
Yeah.
not to downplay education or anything like that in this podcast, because
That's
we
a
can get
totally
to that.
different topic.
We can get there.
We will get there, maybe next time.
But you know, getting back to legacy, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk, I'll refer to him a lot because he's kind of, I don't know if an idol, but certainly someone that I look up to,
A
of living
mentor, yeah.
his authentic life.
Yes.
Not
he
because
is
I want to
super
do
authentic.
everything that he wants to do, because I don't, because I will not, I don't believe, play out to the extent that he does. He's incredible, I just couldn't do it, I don't think. Limiting belief. But he talks about death
Yeah.
and using that to be a motivator, sometimes for your legacy. You know, I already asked you what got you thinking about it, but why do you think people fear death?
Okay, so I don't think necessarily people fear dying. They fear how they're going to die.
Okay.
I think that's a big thing. I think we're all, you know, not everybody knows you're born and you're going to die. I think it's how you're going to die, maybe when you're going to die.
I think a lot of people put it off
Yeah.
like that. I mean, they know they're going to die, but it's like, not to me.
Mhm.
Kind of like as you're younger, nothing's going to happen to me.
Yeah, you feel a little bit invincible.
Invincible.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's always, you know, oh, that won't happen.
Right.
That's not me. It's not going to be. Yeah, and I think, you know, that's why some people get, you know, they really transform their life when they get a cancer scare or something of that nature. They have a heart attack and they totally change their whole entire lifestyle, their whole entire outlook on life. I very much always try and live every day like it's my last. I know it's kind of morbid to think that way, but I always try and go.
That's how I snap myself
Yeah.
out of a really bad place sometimes.
Yeah.
Honestly, is like, it could be worse. I could be dead, or someone else could be.
Yeah. I set intentions every day. I actually have it on my calendar on my phone
Yeah, that's
as a
great idea.
reminder to like set an intention of my day.
Yeah.
What do I intend to get out of this day?
Yeah.
You know, to be a great mentor, to be a great mom, to be a fantastic wife, like to inspire and motivate people. And
Yeah.
so I think if you don't put those intentions out there, you kind of forget. And then you just, once again, it's that rat race that I talk about all of the time because people aren't living in a state of consciousness. And I think once you start living in a state of consciousness, then it's all about living. It's not about dying. It's all about every day I'm going to live my life to its fullest and really enjoy it and, you know, and really feel fulfilled every day.
Right. One of the things in terms of legacy, I think about like when I get to my deathbed or when I'm going to pass away or that's given to me. I guess I don't want to have regrets of what I didn't do or that I didn't live up to my, you know, full potential. That motivates me. So I think about that as a legacy and, you know, teaching my kids to kind of live beyond their limits or to stretch themselves to grow their limits. You know, my dad, I still look up to my dad and I always say I don't think I'll be a real man until I lose him because I still rely on him.
Yeah.
And I don't want to cry because I'm an emotional guy. But you know, he has been, you know, pushing and fighting going south with my mom. My mom's always wanted to go south for a couple of months when they retire, and she is now in partial retirement. So this is their first year away, and I told my dad, you know, I'm still looking up to you, and you're still teaching me. And that's a part of his legacy, right? That he kind of pushed through,
I think
and that
that's
he taught me.
amazing.
So I think about those things for my own children and for other areas of my life of impacting people, and that's how I use and think of obviously death, and it kind of is more of a motivator to me. And recently there's been a few people passing away in my life, and I've been trying to really use them and think about death more in a positive sense. Meaning we go through this our entire lives kind of resenting death, but it can be a real celebration, or we
Yeah.
should celebrate it before we even get there. It should be a motivator because our time is going to come at some point, and what do we do with our time that we have? Right?
Yeah.
That's another topic about using time, right?
Absolutely. I think it's really fantastic that you communicated with your dad that's,
Yeah, I told
you
him
know,
that.
yeah,
I'm
I
getting
think
better
that's
at that because
fantastic.
I love him and I want him to experience things, you know. And he's still a big mentor for me.
Yeah. I think it's just difficult for people to get out of that rat race, right? I think it's, you know, just creating the awareness and having conversations like this make people stop and think, hey, if I died today, would I have any regrets? I think, you know, I've talked about this so many times before about how you have to stop saying yes to everything. We have a tendency to be like so worried about what other people think, and I think we have to stop doing that. We have to start saying, does this make me happy? No, it doesn't, so I'm not going to do it.
That has everything to do, and I'm getting better with self-awareness.
It doesn't mean, like, you still have certain obligations.
Sure.
Obviously, you have to go to work.
Yeah, sure. And not to not say yes to things either.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you have to be open to things.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think you have your path, and you try to figure, does it fit my why or my purpose? And, you know, you say yes to those things. You know, staying authentic. The more I think about it, the more authentic I am to myself. That's the guiding light. I mean, that is the beacon that you walk towards.
Do you think that people are just as scared about living as they are about dying?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, living is fear, and we've talked about fear, but I mean, when you can embrace fear, which I want to get better at, to the point of that's what life is, if you can start to brainwash yourself in that regard, and I don't think brainwash, by the way, is a bad word. I think we're all brainwashed. If you use it positively and try to reprogram yourself to think, that's the positive way to say it.
Reprogram as opposed to brainwash.
Because brainwash has such a negative connotation to it, but we're programming ourselves all the time. And I think the more that you can reprogram yourself to, you know, think in a positive light, then the better.
Yeah, I totally agree. How do you feel that people can make more of an impact?
It's going to come back to that same being authentic and just identifying your why. You know, really having that self-awareness of who you are and what you're meant to be doing. We talked about this in episode 0.5 or whatever episode it was about finding your art. And I think when you get into that groove, like sometimes I do when we're having these conversations, or when I am talking about even workplace wellness has been a big shift for me in my traditional business. I feel like I'm making a difference and making an impact because it's truly aligned with who I am.
Yeah. Do you think everybody is aligned to make a positive impact, or do you think that people could actually make be aligned with a negative impact, or is that just environment and conditioning and?
Yeah, I hope that everybody's here to make a positive impact. I think most people make negative impacts as a result of environment. I mean, I think about my childhood and growing up, and my group of friends, while we were crazy, silly, maybe not as bright as we should have in certain situations, we were all pretty good kids. And I don't say that because we were better, but we had a different environment, and because, you know, the sum of, you know, all the parts make whatever that saying is. Can't think of it right now, but I was so blessed as a result. Where then I look at some other kids with similar environments but different circles of friends.
I loved watching what's his name, Ian, on Short Bus Talks. Ian Zabo.
Zabo.
Ian Zabo.
Awesome guy, by the way.
Great, yeah. I haven't met him in person yet, but I watched his video that he did where he went to the prison and his experience of going into the prison.
Yeah, I cried during that.
Yeah, perfect example of people being part of their environment. It was a huge portion of my NLP training too.
I'd love to have Ian on here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he'd be great.
Yeah.
That whole experience for him was really eye-opening because he went in, you know, long story short, he went into the prison to do some motivational speaking, I think it was, and he wasn't expecting a lot. He was expecting these sort of hardened criminals, and what he found was some very emotional, very heartfelt, very caring individuals. And I think it's not that they're to be excused for the crimes that they've committed, but I think people need to stop and remember that little boy or that little girl is well, you know, they were a little boy or a little girl at one point in time, that people are not their behaviors. So I know when I did my NLP training, Ernie Pavan, who I adore, he talked a lot about, you know, that little boy who grows up who's being abused by his family, goes into kindergarten and all of a sudden is acting out because, hey, you know what, bad attention is better than no attention.
Sure.
And then that kindergarten grows up, goes into middle school, gets into trouble, you know, is a bit of a bully on the schoolyard because, hey, bad attention is better than no attention than when he's getting at home. And then, you know, eventually he gets older, he gets sent to the principal's office because bad attention is better than no attention. Then he goes out, he gets, you know, past high school, gets into a gang, and then does some petty crimes. No attention's better than, you know, bad attention's better than no attention, and then eventually lands himself in prison. It's just a cycle, and really deep down, it's likely a small child, you know, trapped inside that
Sure.
just feels lonely and abused and doesn't know or doesn't have the capacity to deal with their feelings.
Yeah, that absolutely. And I mean, when you ask me, do I think that there's good intentions or bad? I think most people are at their core good.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're all here.
Mhm.
I think some of us have been misguided, and
I think there are some cases of people that are born, you know, evil. There's something not right in their
inherently
brain.
just in
yeah.
there. Yeah.
And I don't know that you can recondition that back out
Sure.
of them, but
Yeah.
ultimately I really truly look at virtually everybody now and go, wow, you're just somebody broken on the inside, and it's sad. You know, I used to get angry about it, and now I just feel sad.
Right.
And I do feel there are tools and techniques, and that's a whole other podcast altogether
Yeah.
about, you know, how to break those cycles and how to get out of that. But I think, you know, yeah, inherently I think people want to be good. They want to make a good impact on the world.
Right. I mean, we brought up why, your why.
Yeah.
How have you started digging, or how did you find out your why? Like, I mean, it's
Mhm.
been a journey for me. I'm I think really close. I don't know if I could articulate it perfectly, but how did you start to identify that?
I
What
actually remember when I found my why, or the process of going through it, when I did my NLP training a couple of years ago. I remember sitting in the class with everybody, and everybody talking about what they're passionate about, what they love to do. And I love selling real estate, and I love selling houses, but I have a bigger why above and beyond that. And I always thought, well, I love teaching people, and I love training, and I love coaching, but I don't know what I want to coach on or what I want to focus on. And so on a Gary Vee podcast that I listened to, he talked about, well, what is it that you're most passionate about, that you could stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning talking about? So I spent many weeks really pondering that, and then one night I get talking to a friend, and we get talking all about the law of attraction, and I get coaching them on mindset and positivity and all the stuff really that we're talking about here. And sure enough, all of a sudden it's like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. This
Right.
is my thing that
Right.
I could stay up all night talking about.
Right.
You know, self-development, personal development, helping people become better, because I've hit rock bottom. I've been at the very, very bottom and have clawed my way out, and I feel I have such a gift now to be able to give these tools to other people to help other people pull themselves out.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a very clear process for me, but it's not always that clear for everybody.
Yeah.
I think, you know, in the pit of your stomach, you often know, but I think people are often looking for, oh, well, my why is my art. You know, I'm a great drawer, or a great writer, or a great, you know, actor, or whatever. I'm not good at any of those things.
Right.
So I thought, well, if I don't have a talent, per
Right.
se, what
Yeah.
is it that I,
No, you do
know,
have a talent,
What?
right? You do
what
have-
is that talent for? Thank you.
You just expressed
Okay, all right, helping other people.
it. Yeah,
Engaging.
and that is your art.
Yeah.
And that how I've been framing
Yeah.
it is that everybody has a gift, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people self-expression has to do with the things that are hanging on walls
Yeah.
or that you can listen to. But I don't believe that necessarily.
Yeah. And I think you have a great gift at interviewing,
Yeah, thank
you know, and
Yeah.
pulling out great dialogue and asking great questions. That's your gift.
I enjoy it. I guess when I think about my why, I want people to believe in themselves and feel empowered to do things.
Mhm.
It just fundamentally, I mean, so many of us have limiting beliefs of ourselves,
Mhm.
and I one of the things that I get upset when someone doesn't.
Mhm.
You know, when
Yeah.
someone isn't breaking through and
True.
doesn't believe that they can. Upset might not even be the right word. I get a little bit angry.
Mhm. Yeah.
And not always at them. Sometimes that's the surface level, but it's because there's that little person inside that's
Yeah.
telling them that they used to believe or they
Yeah.
did dream,
Yeah.
and then
it
something
could be
was
because their
taken from them.
parents or
Sure.
somebody at school teased them so much that
Yeah.
they actually started to really believe that. And
Yeah.
you can change those beliefs about yourself.
Yeah.
It's conditioning, it's habit,
Yeah.
it's training.
Yeah, self-talk,
Yeah,
right?
self-talk.
Like,
yeah, that's a
And-
big one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say I've got a gift of it, but I have one of the things that's helped me because I have negative thoughts. I guess that's the way to say it. Is that I've had negative thoughts,
Mhm.
right?
Well, we
I,
all do.
But I tell myself that, you know what, I just like, and I think we might have talked about this before, but I think about was the name Simon or Sam or from Saturday Night Live? I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and
Yeah.
God darn it, people love me
Yeah,
and like me.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
do that.
Yeah,
I do that.
You have to.
all
You
the
have
time.
to reprogram your
Yeah.
brain. I sleep with flat headphones that I got off Amazon, and I listen to hypnosis and programming.
You're not one of those
meditations.
people.
I am.
Okay.
I listen to stuff as I'm sleeping at night to reprogram my mind because I recognize where my limiting beliefs are, and I
Right.
have to like knock that out of me, right?
Yeah.
And that's just
We
part
need
of
to
that process.
deep dive on those,
Yeah.
including my own. But we
Yeah.
need to deep dive, I think, and just share with people and be a little bit more vulnerable on what our limiting beliefs are. So
Mhm.
maybe some of our homework can be like write down some of those things and be ready to
Why not right
have
now,
a
Brad?
cry. Because I don't know if I could come up with a good list. I know that I have lots, and I don't want to make it sound like I don't when I
Yeah.
sit there and think.
Well,
because
any
I
part
do.
of personal development is like
Yeah.
breaking through those boundaries
Yeah.
and trying not to focus on the negative.
Yeah.
For me, a big one's the imposter syndrome, which, you know, for those who don't know what imposter syndrome is, it's sitting in a room full of people that you're looking at saying, wow, they're so great. You know, I don't belong here. I don't know why anybody would want to listen to me. That's part of the fear of doing this. You know, I think for both of us is that imposter syndrome. Like, why would people want to listen to Brad and Shannon?
Sure.
You know, what do they know or what knowledge do they have? And I don't think that we know more or we're better than anyone else. I just think that we have a great way of we have a dynamic of asking questions and answering questions in a way that's going to force, hopefully, people to think for themselves the
Yeah.
same questions.
Yeah, empower themselves to
Yeah.
think of how they can break through their.
Yeah, so I know, like, I've met a lot of elite people and really stood in their presence and thought, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I deserve to be here, you know, but we all have our own successes and our own failures, and there isn't a single successful person that I've ever read an audio biography on that didn't go through the same imposter syndrome.
Right.
That doesn't sit there and go, wow, I don't.
See, I've
you know.
always thought imposter syndrome was when you are trying to be someone that you're not. What is that? If imposter syndrome is what you just explained, what is it that I'm thinking is imposter syndrome? How would you
I don't know.
articulate that? So, I mean, imposter syndrome to me, when I think about it, I think
You're being an imposter.
being an imposter, being someone that I'm not
Well,
being
I think
authentic.
to a certain degree,
That
imposter
is?
syndrome is that. You know,
Okay.
you're sitting in the room thinking, I am an imposter.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I'm not living up, that I'm just putting on a charade for people,
Right.
that I'm an imposter.
Yeah. It's
So,
exhausting,
yeah.
right? Like, I mean, the more I can be just authentic and
Yeah.
just share my real true feelings and not have this veil up or whatever. It happens in companies and corporations all the time.
Mhm.
They have this statement or this corporate statement and
Yeah,
mission that they have to
mission
uphold,
statement. Mhm.
and they can't be, you know, vulnerable to what the real life issues are.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. I mean, that's tough to uphold. It's exhausting for staff and for people. And that's I just thought about that.
Yeah, I think more importantly, it's about not caring what other people think. Stop worrying about what the world thinks, because
Yeah.
whatever they're thinking is their thing.
Right.
You have to remember that if they're thinking something about Bradway or Shannon McCaffrey right now, it's through their lens,
Yeah.
through their filter of life, right? It's because of all of the experiences that they've had in their world that are causing them to put those glasses on and see us the way we are. And, you know, they say perception is projection. And so, or maybe it's projection. No, perception is projection. So if you're having an issue with somebody, it's probably your ego who
Right.
has an issue with something
Yeah.
in yourself.
Yeah.
So maybe you hate thieves because somebody in your life, maybe your dad was a thief or your
Sure.
uncle, or somebody stole from you, or maybe you had a really bad experience where you stole something and felt really guilty when you were a teenager and you haven't resolved those issues.
Sure.
So it's like, stop worrying about what everybody else thinks. Just stay in line and stay authentic to you and do what makes you feel good. I always
Right.
feel like I have a meter, you know, in my brain, and I'm always checking in, like, do I feel good? Okay, good. I feel good right
Right.
now. Keep doing it then.
Right.
And if you're doing something you're like, no, this doesn't feel good to me, stop doing it.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta keep yourself realigning so that you can find your why and get on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting on purpose. Money
Money.
is a fear.
Yeah. Yeah, I think money is probably a big fear for, I'm going to say, 95% of the population.
Yeah.
I really feel that there's probably only 5% of the people that don't struggle with it, and they're the 5% of the people who have the most of it.
Sure.
And, you know, they very often say that you could lose have everybody take all the money in the world, redistribute it amongst everybody equally, and within a couple of years it would go right back to the way it was.
Sure. Yeah. No, I guess that's certainly a fear of mine, is not having enough of it, and I
Yeah.
think that comes back to how I was raised, and that I'm a frugal person. I'm
Yeah.
frugally. My mom was very frugal. less than my dad, or more than my dad, I should say. So, I mean, I've picked up that from my parents. So, when I was thinking, what is one of my fears, is certainly not having enough money.
Yeah.
And I think in order to, it's interesting because I believe this, but this is one of the things I want to level up on, is that you need to be willing to lose or not have money in order to get money. That's
Yeah.
one of the things I think I believe. And certainly I know that as an entrepreneur, that you need to invest and be willing to take risks in order to achieve more and to level up.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I totally agree. I mean, we had ebbs and flows in my childhood of highs and lows. We were
Yeah.
steak and lobster one minute and craft dinner the next. And I had a really great childhood. I don't ever remember
Yeah, no.
feeling like I was down and out or anything by any means. But certainly, you know, not only through my parents, because of what they learned through their parents and through that chain,
Yeah.
as well as through the media, how much, you know, we're brainwashed that money is evil.
Right.
That you know, money doesn't grow on trees. What do you think I am,
Yeah.
Rockefeller? There's
Yeah.
all these phrases.
I bite my tongue when I
thrown
say
at us.
those things to my kids. You know?
Oh, totally. No, we
Yeah,
don't
literally.
say those things.
Yeah.
Like, literally, we do
Yeah.
not say those things. You will
Yeah.
never hear me and my household say that we can't afford it. That, you know, if you ask Deegan right now, if you say, like, oh, that TV costs $12,000, he'll go, that's nothing. Like, I want him to have this image in his mind that money is easy and effortless and flows to you. And if he grows up with that mindset, that's exactly what he will create, manifest. So it's really important.
So how do we
in my
break through
household.
that? Because that's one of the things that I need to break through.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that 90% of our audience is just going, yeah, right.
Yeah.
$10,000 for a TV, that is
Yeah,
nuts.
yeah.
What the hell are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
So is that something we talk about now, or do you want to say
Yeah,
that?
no, let's dive in. Why
Yeah.
not?
Well, yeah, tell me, how do you reconcile, you know, that feeling, and at the same time know that most people earn $10,000 in 3 months opposed
Absolutely.
to, or in 5 months, in some cases 6 months, and throw caution to the wind that TV, who cares?
Yeah. I mean, I don't own a $10,000
Right.
TV.
No, yeah.
But I could.
But they can.
I
yeah.
could. You know,
yeah,
I
TV,
could own it.
well, that'd
yeah.
be crazy anymore,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
TVs
they're-
have come down, but 10,000 something.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Everything is like no amount of money to him. It doesn't matter
Right.
what you say to him. But I think it's just, I personally, you know, have, you know, grossed $1 million in a year. So for me, my process of, you know, over the last 12 years of having nothing and being $100,000 in debt, and then every year setting a higher goal and hitting it every year through the tools of the law of attraction, I have definitely learned that there is a lot of reprogramming that you have to do as you're going through that journey in order to break through those levels and level up. Because as long as you think it's going to be difficult, it's going to be hard, it's going to be whatever, then that's what you will create, manifest. So, you know, I personally spend a good portion of my day reprogramming and saying I'm worthy and money's easy. And, you know, I think it's just, it takes time to break through those barriers. And once you get it, you know, you can really soar with it. And I think to your point earlier that you can't focus, if you're focusing on the debt, then you will create more debt. You have to focus on prosperity. And I mean, that's a whole topic altogether on the law of attraction, but I think it's really just trying to help our children so that we're not programming our children to have this mentality. And then more importantly, like to try and get ourselves out of that mentality as well.
No, that's, I mean, I definitely, that is one area that I could use a lot of
Yeah, well, there's
improvement on.
tons of meditations that you can listen to
Yeah.
at night, and that's exactly what they're saying. You know, money comes easily and frequently, opportunities are all around me.
Right.
You know, and I always say to people, listen, when you bury your head in the sand, and we talked about this a little bit the other day because I sent you a video. I went on YouTube and just Googled ways to make money, and there's like literally like thousands of videos on there of people giving you really simple pointers of things that you can do online, in person, to make extra cash. But as long as you're stuck in that negative bubble where you're like, I have no money, my life sucks, I hate my job, I hate my wife, I hate whatever, it's like a country music song.
Yeah. We joked around about singing and music, but maybe we need to
Maybe
write
we
something.
need to write
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
But if you're burying your head in the sand and that's where your head is, then that's where you're going to stay. Whereas the person that's like, I need to make money, I want to, you know, they will see the opportunities wherever they go. Just changing your mindset
Right, no, for sure.
will allow you to see those opportunities.
So reminders. I want to ask you about reminders in terms of getting yourself in the right mindset on a daily basis. You
Yeah.
mentioned you have reminders. I at one point started putting reminders in my phone that pop up to what I believe my why is, empowering people and organizations to be at their best. Do you use that tactic, or what other ways do you trigger yourself to be in the best mindset?
So For me, it's really important lately to be working out and doing some sort of physical activity as many days a week as I can fit in. I do at least 5. I attempt to do 7. And I think just for my mindset, I really need it.
Non-negotiable?
Non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Non-negotiable. I really need to do it.
Do you
I
think
notice a
people
really
need
big
to not
difference.
make a non-negotiable list for themselves?
Yeah, and you know, this is the thing, right? You can fit it into your schedule. You can figure out a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm a really busy person. I figure out a way. You know, you will have to shift your focus of one thing and do something else. So,
Yeah.
you know, for me, I was worried about taking time away from Kevin or Deegan, you know, and so if I had to do it at night, I can do it at night. I'm not a morning person, so getting up at 5 a.m. is not in my wheelhouse because my mind is very active till late hours, and I don't think that you need to get up at 5 a.m. But I think, you know, I incorporated working out in with Deegan, so now Deegan comes out and he does a
Right.
little workout, his playroom's down there, and so I feel like I'm, you know,
Spending some time.
incorporating it in, right?
Yeah.
And more importantly, like, Deegan needs a mom that's, you know, got her stuff together.
Yeah.
You know, he needs, you know, I
Well,
need to
you're,
show him
yeah, you're
that.
being a great role
Yeah,
model in
exactly.
that aspect of
Yeah.
his life, because it's more than just,
Mhm.
you know, A and B. There's
Yeah.
C, D, and E.
Yeah, and so I think that's really important. I think nutrition's really important. I think, you know, eating healthier, getting out a lot of this, you know, a lot of the carbs that we're eating are really toxic to our body, and really just once you get rid of them,
Yeah.
once you get out of
Yeah.
get rid of it, you really start to notice that brain fog goes away.
Mhm.
So I think definitely taking care of
Yeah, I was
of your
having some of that
body.
as a result of the weekend, like I was saying earlier.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and it's okay to indulge every once in a while, but I think for people who are like, you know, having a glass of wine or 3 every night,
Yeah.
and I know it's a huge trend right now,
Yeah, yeah.
very on
Yeah, yeah.
topic.
Yeah, yeah.
Lots of people I think are just,
I think so too.
yeah, they're drowning themselves in this,
Yeah.
and
Because it's okay, because
Yeah.
it's very big, the wine thing in women's culture, that, you know, you're gonna have a glass of wine every single night.
Yeah.
And I'm sure men, the same thing, and whether it's beer or whatever, but I just don't know if that's the right message that we should be continuing to push out
And
there.
I'm certainly not judging because I was there. So
Right.
now that I've kind of broken through that, I now realize how much of that was just numbing my mind, or
Sure.
or I don't know, it's just one of those habitual things that you're not
I
conscious
feel
about.
way better as a result of not doing
Absolutely.
it every night
Yeah.
or every weekend or whatever the case may be. Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
your
it's an
head's
uncomfortable
clear.
topic, but
Yeah.
it's
It needs to be
it's-
talked about.
exactly.
Yeah.
You choose, do whatever you
Yeah,
want to do,
exactly.
but my personal experience has been, you know, when I'm not doing those things, I feel much better about myself. I do more things. I mean, I have more energy, et cetera, et cetera.
It's a lot easier to get yourself aligned and in a positive energy state
Yeah.
when you don't have those chemicals running in your body.
Yeah, it's inflammation too,
Yeah,
and that
it
affects
is.
so many different things
Yeah.
in your life.
You have so much more energy, and it's cliche. Everybody says this, but it's absolutely true. And until you get to the other side, you don't see it.
Yeah.
And if you can just push yourself through 2 or 3 days, you start noticing the big difference. So for me, yeah, working out, health and nutrition are really big. I do a lot of affirmations. I'm constantly inundating my brain with audiobooks. I probably drive my husband crazy because it's
Is
always
he into
playing.
the self-development as much as you are?
Definitely. Not as much as me,
Okay, yeah.
but he definitely, you know, he's got his own passions.
Yeah.
He listens to a lot of podcasts on dirt
Yeah.
bikes, and that's really his thing.
Sure.
But certainly he does.
Yeah.
He does listen to a lot of the videos, and I mean, he can't help it. He lives in my house, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's always running.
Yeah,
He's going to
too
hear it
bad.
in the
Yeah,
background. But I'm always inundating and reprogramming my mind, and I think
Yeah.
that's really key
Yeah,
for
100%.
my success and my
Yeah, yeah.
development.
No, I think for everybody, I think that, I mean, because you've had some success, I think people can take away from that. You know, non-negotiables, I said that earlier. So you have this list that you don't, or you do, or you think that would be a great idea? Meaning, like, what are you saying?
There's 3 questions
Yeah,
there.
So, you threw me off here. So, what I'm getting at, I guess, is that, you know, you have this list of a ritual or routine
Yeah.
that you do every day to set yourself up for success. And not that everybody has to mimic yours. It might be a great starting point
Yeah.
for somebody, but you think that somebody should sit down and go through what their priorities are important to
Yeah.
them.
I think the key is not to try and do it all overnight.
Right.
You know,
No,
this is the
that can
big
be
key,
overwhelming,
right?
right? Yeah.
I started with, you know, The Secret and listening to and watching The Secret over and over. But that was, you know, 12 years ago. YouTube and everything wasn't out and as big as it is now.
Yeah.
So I very much was probably stuck in that rut. But now I'm, you know, into the audiobooks and into the YouTube videos and a variety of different things. Start with whatever, you know, you feel comfortable with first, and then start, you know, working into the working out. And then I worked into the nutrition. So you keep leveling up.
Yeah.
You know, don't try and do it all overnight because it'll be too much of a shock for your
Yeah.
body and you'll probably quit.
I was thinking, I mean, when I was doing my daily steps videos, and I haven't done a real true daily steps video in a while, but one of the things that my epiphany is that you may know where you want to go, maybe you don't, but you just need to start and take a step, you
Just-
know, and sometimes it's overwhelming to think, oh my God, Mount Everest is however
Yeah.
tall, right? Like, there's no way I can do that. Well, you can just take the first step and don't worry, and then worry about the next step. That's an understatement. But he told me a story about when they were dating, and he found, she went away to babysit with my aunt somewhere. This was young, like, I mean, 17-ish kind of thing. And he just shared a story about him driving through the snow to get to my mom, and he didn't know where it was, quite
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah.
But he knew why he was going there. And that kind of
Yeah.
drove that kind of message home for me, is that he didn't need to know how or where. He just
Yeah.
needed to know why. And that when you know, have a passion or a love, that you get there.
Yeah, you just get there. Yeah, no, I think that's really important. You have to keep moving forward and just don't get overwhelmed by all of the craziness, because it's so
Yeah,
easy to
there's
say, well,
lots.
I don't know how I'm going to do this, and this, and I don't know how, like, a lot of it too, you know, one of the other pointers I can, you know, give people is to reverse engineer. Something I
sure.
learned in my NLP
Yeah.
training. Reverse engineer,
Yeah.
you know, what you want to do. Okay, I want to run a business. Okay, well, don't start from here as far as, oh gosh, there's so much out here, I don't know where to start and what to do first. Start back here and say, okay, pretend that you're already open. Okay, well, what did you do right before you opened? Okay, I had to hire staff. Okay, well, how did you hire the staff? Well, I had to put out an ad. Okay, well, did you do it through an agency or you did it through Kijiji? So start writing that ad. Okay, what did you do before that? Oh, I had to get some inventory for my store. Okay, so you got to source out some inventory. Okay, well, I, you know, went online, I found all my inventory and the best suppliers. Well, then I needed shelving. Okay, well, then I had to source out shelving. I needed to find the rent. I needed to find the location, and just
Yeah.
work your way backwards. And then
Yeah.
it's not as scary as sitting out here going, wow, there's 101 things,
Yeah.
you know, that I need to do.
Break it
so
down.
that helps, but that's, you know, one step.
Sure.
One step at a time, whether
Yeah.
you're reverse engineering it
Or from-
backwards
or going
or you're
forward
just
or whatever.
focusing on, okay, what is my next step? You know, for us, this is what we did. Let's just
Yeah.
set a date.
Let's just do it.
So we just set a date and said, you know, every Friday we're going to meet at this time and we're going to just start. And
Yeah.
we're just going to take one step. And then we were like, oh, let's edit it and do something cool. Okay, well, Brad went out and found a really great guy to edit it. So
Yeah.
you just keep taking one step at a time. I don't know where we're going with this, but we're just going to keep going
Yeah.
because, you know, it makes me happy.
Yeah, me too.
Mhm.
And I think that's where we're going to stop today.
Yeah,
That sound good?
yeah, sounds great.
Awesome. You know, there's so many things to continue to go down the rabbit hole on. It's really exciting, and I think, you know, it's going to be really great when we have that maybe guest on over the next couple of
Yes, yes.
episodes.
Yes, maybe our audience can chime in on people that they would like to see, or if you'd like to be a guest on our show because you
Yeah,
feel that
absolutely.
there's some topic that you're really super passionate about that
Yeah.
you really want to get out.
Yeah,
then
no, that's a great idea.
contact us.
Let's do
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
Wow.
throw that out.
You're good at this.
Episode 2,
Episode 2.
wrapped up.
Anyways, thanks for joining us again today. I'm Brad Way.
I'm Shannon McCaffrey.
Let's go level up.